Hello world, back again, up to double digits of subscribers, so for the 10 of you that have subscribed, thank you. And for the others who watch these videos, please subscribe, like, comment, subscribe, share. Hello world, back again, Millennial Dragon. This video is dedicated to processing my relationship with Quentin Tarantino. Right? Quentin is a powerful psychic clairvoyant who remote views people as a psychic voyeur and jumps into the mind of the actors in his films. I wrote him a series of letters, right? As an actor, I want to play Hamlet, right? And as a writer, as an appreciator of his writing, right, about playing the lead in the movie Critic last year. Or, I'm sorry, not last year, in 2023. Right? And so without going on and on and on and on, right? While he showed me a little bit of light, right? Like he showed me, right, the pathway to being a movie star, right? I turned around and walked away. And so rather than compel me to sign an NDA and, right, just run my name through the mud all over town, and I mean, he's done the latter already, of course, but rather than do that, right, he entered into a Faustian covenant to compel me to madness, right? To compel me to suicide, right? So it's just degenerated into a sick psychic siege, right? I am the most powerful clairvoyant of the millennial generation, right? And now that he knows that he cannot break my mind with his mind, he and his cabal of degenerates, however few there may be, right? Perhaps it's just him and his wife, perhaps it's all just him and it's a sick intellectual exercise, right? They've now descended into palpable black magic evil, to destroy, to seek the destruction of my body with his mind, with their minds. So I've written a novel about it, right? It behooves me to talk about it, right? He's kicking off the movie again this December, right? And so we're talking about it. I've sued his agency, William Morris Endeavor, but, right, this isn't about money. It's never been about money. If I was money hungry, I would have given him what he wanted, right? If this thing stays in the dark, right? Come December, when he kicks off this movie, he's going to pay people, right, to torture me with a palpable evil that no court can ever try him on, right? So, we're talking about it, right? Life is not an accident. Life has a latent intellect, right? Which is the source and seat of all psychic phenomenon and clairvoyance. So the book is just getting good. It's called Building a Coven. As in a witch's coven, right? Which I have to have by December, right? And I'll pick up where I left off. They came back on and played a new song, Labyrinth. The lyrics penetrated some true darkness in my soul, and as it washed over me, this elegant, melancholy song of separation and connection, when I closed my eyes, Alistair was there, as clear as can be. Other visions, converging vectors of light collide perpendicular through a gravestone. An X, I interpreted as my chromosomes mutating, strobe flashing behind my eyelids in the void of eternity. He wished me well, told me to get help. It was very emotional. A kaleidoscope of insight I couldn't discuss with anyone. The set also included Vermilion Crest, and I brought back the refrain. Gonna escape from this prison of lies, gonna escape from this prison of lies. And the ritual was complete. Pure telepathy. All the while, Anna, stone cold banger, right there to my left all night. The tension grates as friction against the atmosphere between us. What could I say? Despite wanting to lasso the moon, recite poetry, I did none of those things. When the encore was underway, I told her it was nice getting to know her, and if I should see her again, I'll consider myself fortunate. She smiled and rubbed my shoulder and looked me in the eye. My life can't be defined by those metrics. Perhaps it is true I have this horrible disease bringing me swiftly to my demise, and I never would willingly transmit something so permanent, so lethal. But beyond that, she has someone close to her. Her demeanor suggests maybe she's interested. She's all heart, like me. It doesn't interest me to cause strife, though it is not the last time I caused it, if I did at all. When I left, I assumed I would not see her again. Critically, I would say in terms of the jam, the second set of the first night transcended, though every set was its own shade of excellence. After the show, I went back to the campground. I walked around the festival grounds for a time. A cardboard box town hall was constructed over the first 3 days, with plans displayed on either side, with less boxes surrounding the structure in proportion to vertical rise. A building centering the grounds had DJs playing late-night sets, and offered elevated views of the sets. I am sure people, like the rail chasers, staked their claims for the panorama. A hovering sphere with the moon projected onto it on the far end offered the obligatory moon-in-hand forced perspective photo that I saw dozens of people take throughout the weekend. Stage right had a full farmer's market, with food vendors and bars distributed all along the periphery. Leaving the festival grounds, I met an Australian. He now marks the widest cultural distinction. We had a good conversation. He's been a fan a long time. So many of us have come of age around Clam. He seems to have landed on his feet. Scanning my wristband to leave the festival grounds, the scene became wide, with a couple thousand people shuffling at their leisure to their next destinations. An old Jerry-loving motherfucker, if I guessed, was blowing his horn, saxophone, case open, busking. He, too, is all heart. Can't tell you shit about Coltrane, but plays sincere through the soul. Long gray hair, long gray beard, skinny wiry frame, is no stranger to speedballs, likely high as a kite as I strolled by each night. Both times I watched Clam this year, I saw people along the thoroughfare offering free Narcan, free testing. I never used it, but it is a welcome addition. Discernment is a trait lost on some. I hung out and talked shit until the witching hour. Always Alistair lurking in the opacity just out of sight. I forced myself to sleep in a deplorable state of discomfort until the sun brought me back to the world of the living around 9:30. Waking and forcing myself to a cold shower, I brought my guitar out to a fully fledged jam session replete with several guitars, one banjo, keys, djembe, and we all played a bunch of songs. Around 12:30, the DJ, in very friendly kind, informed us he is scheduled at 1 to play, so I called last song. A banjo player. Not a real player, like the sax player. I spent some time with over the weekend. The banjo player. Not a real player, like the sax player. I spent some time with over the weekend. He is an atmospheric scientist, focusing on exoplanetary systems. He analyzes the raw data, and the varying bandwidths of electric waves reflect the molecular and chemical composition. I told him I'm a writer. He saw me reading The Demon Song. We talked about literature. He was very encouraging. He teaches at Johns Hopkins and lives in the Blue Ridge Mountains. He offered me a serene writer's retreat if ever I should find myself in his corner of the world. He was also very kind on my playing, which I greatly appreciate. He called me a virtuoso. The great shock or twist being him revealing that he is Larry David Bald, constantly hiding his glare under a hat. I went in around the same time, intending to eat the last of my ecstasy. Pink Warner Brothers water towers. Irony. Though by now they had degenerated to piles of powder between then and Deer Creek. I ate LSD as well. I'll stop there. So, right, it's a novelization of my experiences with Quentin Tarantino and the movie Critic, right? So, the main question, that everyone around him is asking is like, why didn't I just do it? Right? And seeing what it is now, right? I wish that I had done it because it should have never become what it is now. But at the same time, right? I see that I chose the right side because I would never cast my allegiances with anything that smacks of this depth of evil. That there is no place in my heart for evil of this magnitude. Right? That he, right? He could have forced me to sign an NDA, paid me pennies, right? Called me a loser all over town. And that would have been just fine. Right? But instead, right? He said, oh no, I'm the only one who can use wisdom, right? And if he doesn't, right, want to submit to me and my power, then I'll use it to destroy him, which is an egregious, disgusting sin against God and nature and man, right? That Buckminster Fuller, we all come into the world under similar conditions, naked, ignorant, and completely helpless, right? That there's nothing better about him than me, right? There's nothing better in me than me about him, right? That we're both equal under the eyes of God, right? And so we're allowed to have our machinations, right? This is the point, right? We're allowed to say, no, this is the boundary, and if you don't figure out how to jump the hurdle, then you don't get to finish the race, and that's perfectly fine, right? There's nothing wrong with that, right? But to say that this race defines your life or your death, right? That now you've crossed into the realm of I am God. Now you've crossed into the realm of I decide if you live or die based on this thing, right? And so, right, if it's a mystery, right, if we're talking about the mystery traditions, right, you say, why didn't I do it, right? Then I would say because the mysteries are twofold, right? That he thought that he was initiating me in something, right? Namely the lesser mysteries, right? That which is the question, right? Which is there's your ignorance, right? You'll never circumvent it, right? You can learn, right? Through reading, through scholarship, through austerity, you can become wise, right? But you will never be actually like God, despite eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, right? That these are the lesser mysteries is the question. This is your ignorance, right? You can never circumvent it, right? There is a mysterious quality that allows life to proliferate, right? And so, right, I was initiating him, right, into the greater mysteries. And I know it's pretentious, right? It's like, right? But, right, there is a question, right? It's a palpable question, right? And that's what leads you to, right, books like this, right? That's what leads you to wisdom, right? In seeking the answer, right? Right? But the answer, right, is that while you can never truly know, right? You can understand that love is the principle that guides the engine of the world, right? That the sun, right? That nature gives and gives and gives of itself perpetually forever, right? And so this is the wisdom that Diotima espouses to Socrates in Symposium, right? That the spirit of true love is a dirty hobo, right? Sleeps on the dirt, has no shoes, right? And he's begging constantly because it gives it has qualities from both parents, right? That it gives and gives and gives and gives and gives, right? Like God, like the spirit of deity, right? Until there's nothing left to give, and then it has to beg, right? Right? So there's the question, and then there's the answer, right? Right? Am I the Hierophant of the world? I would never say that. I would never say that. Right? But, right, I knew the game that he was playing. Right? And so, right, I guess we both failed. I don't know. Right? Do I regret it? Yeah, I guess I do. As far as me living in palpable fear that assassins are going to come here at any minute, right? My anxiety is just all the way up there, right? Right? So, because I don't care about power, I'm not interested in power, right? But he obviously has a palpable darkness and evil, right? so he got what he wanted. He got what he wanted, but, right, again, right, the pendulum swings both ways. I'm all the way in his mind, too, right? Now, I'm not evil. I'm not actually evil, right? I would never conspire towards, right, compelling someone to madness and suicide. That's, right, that's a palpable evil. His soul is gone forever, right? So this is why I wrote the Pope, right? This is why we're talking about it, right? Because, right, all that's left is to talk about it, right? Right? I'll never be more than my shortcomings, just like him, right? That this is what he wanted, right? And so I write everyone every day. I write the press every day. The New York Times, right? Right? WME, right? William Morris Endeavor is a satanic institution, right? That they, right? They insulate and support Quentin Tarantino's base evil schemes, right? His agent, Mike Simpson, has known about me for over a year, right? Let me write 10 love sonnets to a woman who doesn't exist, right? Right? And so that's, right, like that, and that occurred a year ago, over a year ago, right? And so that's my point, right? That if they, right, if it wasn't completely fucking evil, right, then they would have reached out and said, no, you blew it, right? Joke's on you. There's no daughter. No one loves you, right? You signed this NDA, right? Instead, right, everyone in that office knows who I am, right? And by the end of it, they all felt sorry for me, right? That I came in there and I raged, right? Gave him everything he wanted to look completely insane, right? Which is to say, I imprinted my psyche inside of them, all of them, right? That they'll never, right? Boom, seared. Like a thing being often read, grown seared and tedious, right? But after the poems, right? After the months dragged on, right? I remember the last time I went in, I could tell. I really could tell that they felt sorry for me, that they knew that I was just trying to resolve it, to know definitively what the truth is. And now I see the truth, right? That it was all an effort to compel me to blow my brains out. There's no other way to interpret it, right? Right? That he has created a pathological psychology in both of our minds, right? And so if he doesn't want to spend time together, right? If he doesn't want to forge real memories, if he doesn't want to heal together, right? Then that means we will both be mentally ill forever. Therefore, that means that he intends for me to die imminently. There's no other way to interpret it. Right? There's no other way to interpret it. Right? So, Robert De Niro insulates evil, right? Trey Anastasio and Fish practice black magic with Quentin Tarantino, right? Martin Scorsese insulates the dark arts and supports satanic occultism, as does Paul Schrader, right? As does the Discovery Institute. Doctors David Berlinski and Stephen Meyer are charlatans and frauds who insulate the dark arts. They're hacks and frauds. And so is his daughter, Claire Berlinski. She's not interested in journalism. Right? All these people insulate evil. David Mamet insulates satanic occultism and has turned away from the light of God, which he knows to be real. Right? And this is all in an effort to, like, oh, we're all famous. Like, oh, we got to protect Quentin. Like, Quentin's in the club. We're all in the club. And, right, it doesn't matter how debased he has made this whole thing. It doesn't matter how debauched this entire thing is. Right, that he's in the club, we're all in the club, and so we gotta protect him, right? And just Brian will just look insane, right? And so what I'm saying is that, right, that I don't care what they all think, right? I know that he lies to every single one of them, right? That if anyone believes the things that I'm saying, right, they are required by default to denounce him. Right? And so this is why I wrote the Pope, right? And so I'll leave you with that. Life has a latent intellect. All psychic phenomenon, all instances of clairvoyance, right, is the adept tapping their conscious awareness into the non-locality of space, right, and manipulating the hologram accordingly, just like God, right? So, you can heal the sick, and you can destroy. Far easier. It's far easier to push something in the right direction. So, pray for me, pray for Quentin. Pray to bring this to an amicable resolution. Right? See what's good in your life. Hold those close to you dear. Right? Know that life is not an accident. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Uplift your soul to God. God bless.